AFT, yeah, they have came out and announced their pistol brace ruling, and it's a mess. It's not a shock, not a surprise. I think this is kind of what everyone was expecting, quite honestly. They did one good thing. They did away with the little checklist where you had to score your gun to decide, okay, are you allowed to have a brace or not? And they just basically came out and said, you're not allowed to have a brace.
SBRs in general,
yeah,
no braces.
Yeah, no braces. They basically, there's still criteria, but it's all built into just the language. So there again, generally speaking, you're just not allowed to have them. So 10 to 40 million of these things are out there. Who knows what that's going to do? Basically, if you have one, you either have to destroy it. You can send your firearm into the ATF, you know, if you just want to get rid of it. Or somehow you just have to basically make the brace not there. Or you can register it as an SBR. Now, they are waiving the registration tax.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right. So what does that mean? So is this one of their convoluted ways of getting you on a list? So to register the SBR means you can keep it, or you still have to get rid of it?
Well,
the SBR brace, I mean.
If you register it, you're allowed to keep the brace. But to your point, it's on a list. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with, once you file something with it's an NFA item at that point, same as silencers and machine guns, and now there's short-barreled rifles, and now braces, which the ATF has for several years now said are perfectly fine and legal. Well, now you have to register them, so you have to submit paperwork, submit fingerprints, fill out this whole questionnaire. You're supposed to give a purpose as to why do you need this item. To be fair, most people end up putting something on there that says something like all legal purposes, you know, to just make it a generic thing.
Generic, yep.
But here comes the problem. Okay, now you're on a gun registry with that particular firearm. It's serial numbered, and it's additionally serial numbered. So not only do you have to fill out paperwork, you'll have to get another serial number attached to the firearm, designating it as specific to the NFA. You can't cross state lines without getting permission and approval. So you'll have to, anytime, say you want to take your braced pistol across state lines, there's a form you have to fill out. Basically, you have to ask permission.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess.
I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
My friend might or may not have one of these SBR pistol braces. Do they have a serial number on them already, the braces? Were the manufacturers required to put serial numbers on the braces that were sold individually?
No, they do not.
So how's that going to work?
Yeah, that's a good question.
But that's what they're requiring, right? Is that they want the gun and the brace to have a serial number so they can register it as this brace. This person paid the tax in order to have this brace with this gun. If this brace shows up on another gun, then you're a felon, right?
To be honest, I'm not positive with that. Okay. I'd have to read. There's several hundred pages.
I may be reading something into it, but
so I'm not. That's a good question, actually. I'll have to do some research into that. Now, the reality is, it's intended so that the brace would be on the firearm because it's a pistol with an attached stabilizer brace.
So all the 40 million or however million you said they want those to be thrown in the garbage and and have the manufacturer make these pistol braces already attached to the guns.
Yep.
As part of the serial numbered gun, which now is in the classification as your suppressors and your machine guns, and you need to get that federal stamp and wait for a year in order to be able to purchase something and have fingerprints all over the government.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that because currently the wait time for most of these things to register it with through the ATF for the NFA, it's 2 months to a year turnaround time, depending on what it is. Usually SBR is a little bit quicker than like silencers are. I don't know why, it's just all the same paperwork. But it can take a while. And that's with the current normal volume, which is just silencers for the most part. And, true short-barreled rifles. there is no way that currently the ATF will be able to process 10 to 40 million applications. So if everyone decides, we'll come up with a number in the middle. We'll say 25 million. If 25 million, and it's not necessarily people could have more than one. So we'll just say if 25 million firearms are all submitted at once, because you're supposed to have all this done in 120 days.
So this is already has a date,
yes.
An end date on it.
Yes, it's
so
now.
My
it's done
friend,
deal.
if he does or does not have a pistol brace, needs to comply within 4 months.
Yes, correct.
And what is the penalty that they're telling you? What is it? Is it a misdemeanor? Is it a level 5 felony?
No, you go to prison.
Is that right?
And fines up to $100,000.
That classifies for our first.
You are fake news.
Yeah.
That is bull crap.
Yeah, yes.
All right, so I have some more questions, Craig, and
okay.
I'm fuzzy on this. Does this bureaucratic lawmaking ATF bureaucracy, is there any recourse for us? Can this be stopped by the Supreme Court? Can states have constitutional amendments put in that strictly forbid any kind of this, an infringement like this on the Second Amendment for residents of certain states? Is there anything that we should be pushing for?
Well, I would recommend everyone contact your congressman, contact your senator. At your state level, contact your representatives as well. Some states have already passed legislation to allow silencers, things like that are manufactured within the state to not be under the purview of the NFA. Because the whole NFA, let's put it out there at first, the NFA, the National Firearms Act, is unconstitutional. It's an infringement on our rights. It's an infringement against the Second Amendment. So we'll just put that out there. It's never actually been truly pushed to the Supreme Court as far as the entire thing. Individual cases here and there go, but usually what ends up happening is they throw so many charges at stuff that people end up pleading out. So it's never went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Lately, the Supreme Court has been kind of spanking the ATF quite a bit. The bump stocks.
Yep.
The receiver rules and stuff. The courts have been kind of coming down on that. And so, is there any recourse? Well, I'm going to say it depends, because the reality is these are rules. These aren't laws, and they're rules that are propagated by the agency that has been set aside to uphold the law. So these are opinions. So is there anything you can do? Well, you can not comply, and you'll probably, if they catch people, they'll be going to court. There'll be legal fees, things like that. They'll
probably try to make a couple of high-profile
yes.
goats out of this,
yes.
like scapegoats.
Yep.
I'm torn. I think that what you said earlier about flood them with 60 million applications for processing pistol braces for SBRs, and there's no way they can do it. But I believe that with our swampy government, they would see that as an opportunity to expand government. Hey, we're getting flooded here. We can't do what we promised to do to ban these pistol braces. Let's take those 87,000 IRS agents that we funded and we're trying to defund now. Let's take that money over to the ATF so they can perform that. So I don't necessarily like that tactic, although I see how it would be effective in some respects. But maybe I think I'm fully in the camp of do not comply. This is crap.
I think I am too. As far as what I think, that's what I think the general people are going to do. Let's be honest. We're on a gun channel.
Yeah.
So we have to comply because it's not like
right.
we're on lists.
Yeah.
So I'm very irritated about this because, for one thing, these braces are not cheap. I mean, I've got video out there. There's already evidence that I have this stuff. I mean, I've got videos out there, the AKV, things like that. Great gun, by the way. I mean, lots of fun. But now I'm stuck. I either have to register it, and okay, so they waived the tax, but it's still on a registration then. It's all the hassle and the paperwork, and that's assuming that they can pass all this stuff in 100, get all this paperwork done in 120 days, which I don't think is going to happen. So I have no idea what kind of repercussions are going to come from that. And I don't want to be part of all that anyway. So essentially what I'm going to have to end up doing is I'm going to take the brace off the AKV and destroy it. Yeah. Which basically means I'm having to throw away a couple $100 in hardware. And is the government going to pay me for that?
With the chance, Craig, of the same thing happening with the bump stocks, where it goes all the way, we go a couple months into it being illegal, and then it gets pushed back by the Supreme Court, or it gets defunded, or one of these things where now that you've destroyed it, it's legal again, and you just followed the rules, and now you're going to pay the price for it.
Right. So. That's exactly right. So I follow the rules, I destroy my brace, and a year from now it finally gets, because it's going to be challenged, there's going to be class action things like GOA, there's several organizations already getting stuff in motion, and ultimately I think it's going to be found unconstitutional, so I'll be allowed to have it again. But I can't keep it during that time, because I run the risk of, going to big boy jail. So there's nothing you can do. I mean, what would be great is if, you could send them to the ATF with a provision that they have to keep it, and then when it's found unconstitutional, they have to send it back.
That would be trust in the government, and I have absolutely zero trust in the government.
Right, and there, that wasn't one of the options anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think we can sum this up as saying this is yet another step in turning the heat up on the pot of water with your frog in it. I mean, they're slowly cooking us, and we need to choose a hill to die on and stand up and call our congressmen and do everything peacefully that we can to tell them that this is not the will of the people. They serve us, not the other way around. As far as I can tell, everything I've read, and you're way more versed in this than I am, but what makes a pistol brace this ugly boogeyman that is it's insane how they pick something, even the bump stock. I guess the bump stock, how it increases your your fire rate by a little bit. But
it has nothing to do with that. At the end of the day, it's something that they can identify, and they can't come out and directly just say, turn them in, Feinstein's approach, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. That's what she said she would do if she could. They can't do that, so they're going to do all these end runs to make it so difficult to own any of this stuff.
To basically wear us down. To wear us down until we are willing to accept their rules. And they think you're stupid. They think that you cannot make your own decisions. So I mean, it's.
Yep, absolutely.
You're gonna have to think about this for yourself. But I encourage you to do everything you can in the Republican. The Republican, what's it called? We're a republic, a democratic republic. Do everything in the democratic republic process, like Craig said. Contact over and over again. Contact your congressman, senator. Contact Ohio law. See if there's something we can get some of these 2A backing state legislators to start doing some sort of paperwork to block it at a state level. We've seen that in other things. I mean, if it's not in the Constitution, I mean, it's fallible. It's fallible. We just need people to stand up and fight. So
I would agree with that. The main reason I wanted to bring it up is to make sure people are aware, because the last thing you would want to have happen is for Mr. and Mrs. Joe Public. They 2 years ago they went to a gun store. They thought that this braced pistol just looked cool. They bought it, stuck it in the closet. It's for home defense, whatever. Forgot about it, and then 8 months from now, they get it out, and they go, oh yeah, let's go shooting, and they go to the range and get arrested.
And there's some undercover spook there that's trying just to find that person that forgot to do it. So,
and you know, to play devil's advocate, if criminals were using these all the time, like if this was, you know, every violent firearmed act out there is being done with the braced pistol, I could almost buy it as, oh, okay, that makes sense. They're not. Criminals are not using these. There's been just 1 or 2 instances where these have shown up in crime scenes.
It's a boogeyman that a couple of
it's a boogeyman, yep.
uneducated ass clowns came up with to put all their effort into attacking the gun rights.
Yep, absolutely. I hope you've enjoyed this clip from the Craig's Gun Channel Random Shots program. The program airs Thursdays at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. On Random Shots, we discuss content ranging anything from preparedness, survival, politics, firearms, basically anything that's 2A related, with sometimes some rabbit trails on things that aren't related at all. If you enjoy this type of programming, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when we release new content. And if you like it, hit the like button and share us if you would as well. It helps the algorithm and helps the channel grow and helps get our message out. So until next time, stay safe.